score 15 over the reigning Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles on the road in the Link. No way! This was the prove it game. This was the way to prove to everyone who was calling you frauds wrong. You got to go on the road against the reigning Super Bowl champions. I know they blew a 21-point lead last week to Dallas, but they're still the reigning Super Bowl champions, and they're still an 8-3 football team. That's still objectively a very good record. You got to go on the road in prime time to go and try and prove yourselves. They've won 5 in a row now. And it's the first time in that 5-game winning streak they win by more than one score. I cannot believe this. I cannot believe what I just watched. It felt like this team was dead to rights in the middle of the third quarter. But they literally stole it out of Jalen Hurts' hands. So I watched the highlights. I like watching them back before I film these videos. And I'm so glad I did this week more than any other week this season because it reminded me of a massive play right before the big momentum shift. You know, we're in the middle of the third quarter, so Bears are up 10-9. Caleb Williams has just thrown an interception in his own territory with the team up 1 point. Great play by Jalix Hunt, by the way. Not a great throw from Caleb Williams, and Jalix Hunt takes advantage of it. And the Eagles, down 1 point, have a field goal gift wrap to them. Most likely going to score a touchdown. But on second and medium, DeMarco Jackson, who, by the way, is this team's 4th string linebacker, maybe 5th, depending on who you ask. He's wearing the green dot for a second consecutive game with Maine, Edwards, and Sewell all out. He's trying to wrap up Saquon Barkley. He ends up going past the first down marker, but they called the play dead super quickly. Dallas Goedert's, confused. I was confused too. I'm like, that's a really early whistle. Pleased to believe they show the replay. DeMarco Jackson does just enough to have Saquon Barkley's knee hit the ground before he crossed the line again. Heads up call by the official. That's a tough call to make. We all know what comes next. The tush push. It's 3rd and 1. Eagles are in the red zone. It's the tush push. We all know what's going to happen. First time they run it, it would be the only time they would need to run it in this game. And the play happens, and in around the edge comes a guy named Nahshon Wright. And he rips the ball out of Jalen Hurts' hands and recovers it out of the bottom of the pile. Turnover. Late in the third, right after the Bears give it away. And it feels like they're giving not just the lead, but the game away. As the Eagles offense feels like it has just woken up after playing a terrible first half. And Nahshon Wright steals back momentum. Literally ripped it right out of Jalen Hurts' hands. And then the Bears go down and they score a touchdown on that ensuing drive to go up 8. And they would add another score to go up 15, and the game was over. We got to start talking about Nahshon Wright as one of the biggest additions to this team this year because everyone will talk about for Ben Johnson and Dennis Allen being the 2 biggest moves in the offseason. And I think that is very warranted. They have been great coaches this season for the Chicago Bears, flipping the narrative and changing the culture. But Al Harris, up there as well. But you got to start talking about Nahshon Wright as one of the big moves. Because, well, it looked like it was just a depth piece. And initially, it was a signing for Nahshon Wright to be a depth piece, maybe a practice squad guy this year. He ends up having to play and start week 1 when Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon are not good to go. So him and Tyreek Stevenson are the 2 corners that the Bears are riding with. And throughout the rest of the season, as this team has dealt with secondary injury issues, this was the first game, by the way, that Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon played together. Jalen Johnson had played 1 half of football this season up to this point. He played in the first half against Detroit, re-aggravated the groin issue, and he's been out ever since. But to see Deshaun Wright step up in absences for those two and have the season that he's had, it's the stuff of miracles. It's the stuff of Disney movies. Like, it really is a storybook happily ever after ending for Deshaun Wright. And this is now 3 games in a row since his beloved coach, John Beam, passed away. He's produced a takeaway in all 3 of those games. 2 picks and a fumble recovery. And all were incredibly important. Dude, I haven't even been recording for that long. I'm hot as hell. I gotta turn the fan on. I gotta give a massive shout out to Kevin Byard as well. Like, this guy deserves an extension. This was supposed to be kind of more of a rental experiment for the Bears, because Kevin Byard's been kind of floating around a little bit since he left Tennessee and Nashville with the Titans. I think he's found a new home in Chicago, man. That defense rallies around him. He's a leader. He's been one of the few guys who's been healthy all season. He leads the NFL in interceptions this year. He now has 6. Grabbed just the 2nd pick off of Jalen Hurts all season long. And it was an amazing play as well. Kind of just showing up at the 11th hour on the play to swipe it away before it hits the ground. I know the Bears went 3 and out right after, but that is the type of stuff that generates momentum. Now, unfortunately, the Bears pretty much gave momentum right back to Philly because they went 3 and out. Philly then scored a touchdown, and then Caleb threw that pick before Deshaun Wright stole the momentum back. But regardless, Kevin Byard has to have get a lot of credit from this organization, the fans. Excuse me. They got to realize that Kevin Byard's been such a crucial part of this defensive identity. He's been such a leader, and he's producing on the field. He is having a career renaissance. After having a solid year last year, he wasn't bad by any means, in my opinion. He only ended up getting 1 INT, but, like, it's night and day. It's night and day. And maybe it has to do with the defensive coordinator that this team hired in the offseason. Ben Johnson wanted Dennis Allen. He really did. And he has been unreal this year. With the amount of injuries that this defense has sustained, I mean, the way that they play is insane. They live and die by the takeaway. They're not getting a ton of takeaways a game. Their defense struggles. And, you know, they're hurt, they're injured, but they've had their moments. You know, I'm not going to say that it's perfect. This defense has struggled a lot this year. They've had their moments, especially, go back to Cincinnati, 42 points allowed, including 15 in about a minute to surrender a 13-point lead, 14-point lead. Like, they've had their moments, but they stepped up in this game. Holding that Eagles offense to 15 points should not happen on a weekly basis. I know that Eagles fans want a guy named Kevin Patullo fired, their offensive coordinator, and their offense has struggled. Outside of the explosion they had in Dallas, since the bye, it's been rough for Philly. 10 points, 16 points, and now 15 in those 3 games outside their match against Dallas. So, the Phillies' offense has had a down year, and they've regressed. It's still a very impressive performance in my eyes from Dennis Allen's group, considering, again, they're on linebacker 4 and 5 in this game with DeMarco Jackson and Amen Agbambamiga. No Edmonds, no Edwards, no Sewell, and no Stevenson as well. There was no Stevenson. And the defensive line did not get home with pressure today. They didn't sack Jalen Hurts, and they very rarely forced him to flush out of the pocket. So, holding them to 15 points is insane. I mean, they kept the game in front of them. Saquon Barkley was a non-factor in this game. I know, again, he struggled as of late, but the Eagles offense should have been licking their chops with the fact that the defensive line has been bad this year. The linebacker core is injured, and they're starting 4th, 5th stringers. Like, I'm not kidding. They should have been licking their chops. This should have been a rushing offense game for Philly. They should have been able to run it down our throats. But they did not. Saquon Barkley was a non-factor in this game. Look, the defense really stepped up when the offense fell short. I mean, they had a good start to this game. I know they didn't come away with points on that first drive, but that 4th and 1, it was called a first down on the field and they overturned it. Go back and look at it. You tell me. That felt like he got it, but refs made the call. It's the call they're going to make. Whatever. Defense shut them down. They went down and scored a touchdown on the next drive. And they followed up with a field goal, if I remember correctly, there was a 3-and-out mixed in between there. But look, the offense had a nice start, and they went into a massive cold streak late in that second quarter and in the third quarter. Very cold. Defense stepped up in a couple of moments. Byard with the INT. And on the next drive, they let the touchdown, but they clamped it down when they were given a short field to work with and produced a takeaway. It's how this defense has operated all season long. And it's just unbelievable how they continue to find new ways to take the ball away. It's like insane. This defense is stout. They're dangerous. And they're down to their 4th and 5th string linebackers. And for most of the season, they have played with corners with their top 2 corners out. Sometimes their top 3 corners gone. Like, it's insane the production that we're seeing from this defense. And while the defense absolutely did their job today, this doesn't happen with the rushing offense that the Bears had. I mean, that was unbelievable. The rushing offense was unstoppable. Literally unstoppable. Almost 300 yards of rushing offense for the Chicago Bears in this game. They had not one, but 2 separate 100-yard rushers in this game, and they both had touchdowns. DeAndre Swift. And not only that, they were both over 120 yards. I mean, this was insane work from this run-blocking group. Because it's not just DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai. It's the offensive line. It's the wide receivers. It's the scheme. Drawing up these plays to make their job as easy as possible. And there were several moments where Kyle Monangai was going straight through defenders. DeAndre Swift was being shifty, putting some guys on skates, breaking out of tackles. Like, they had their moments to shine when they got out in space. But the dirty work should not go uncomplimented. This offensive line played outstanding in this game. Oh, did I say both Monangai and Swift went for over 120? Check that they went for over 125, both. DeAndre Swift had 125 rushing yards and a touchdown. Kyle Monangai, who, by the way, was picked in the 7th round, 130 yards on the ground and a touchdown against that Eagles front 7. I think that's a success. That is a tough Eagles defense. A tough Eagles defense. Secondary's pretty healthy. I mean, they were missing Bakumbo, if I'm correct. If I'm getting that name wrong, apologies if I got that wrong. Other than that, defense was healthy. Zach Bond and Nakobe Dean were starting. Jalen Carter, Jalen Phillips, by the way, played a really good game. All things considered, I really liked what Jalen Phillips did. They had Jalix Hunt, who got the INT, and the secondary was healthy. They had DeJean, Blankenship, Mitchell, Sidney Brown. Like, they had their entire defense out there. And they let Chicago run for almost 300 yards. Philly hadn't let up a 100-yard rusher all year, and they let up 2 in the same game. It's the first time the Bears have 2 100-yard rushers in the same game since a very forgettable, uninspiring season for the Chicago Bears in 1985. Walter Payton and Matt Suhey were the last 2 running backs on the Bears roster that accomplished this feat. That's how long ago it was. And now it's DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai wrecking a stout front seven for Philadelphia. And now we're going to talk about the passing offense. And I know where some of this conversation is going to go. And I will agree. And I will also concede. Caleb Williams had a bad game today. Sub 50 completion percentage. He turned the ball over. Only 154 yards through the air. But at the same time, the best throw of the day came in the fourth quarter, trying to punch out the lights, something this team has not done this year. When they're up one score in the fourth quarter, they have not been able to go down and add to the lead. That's been the biggest thing for me that this team needs to continue to improve on. Well, they play great in the fourth. They have, at a couple of times this year, had to have played from behind or kept teams around in games before finishing them off on the final drive. We needed to see this Bears team go down and score with the lead in the fourth quarter, and they did. And Caleb Williams' best throw was on a beautiful play call. I don't know if it was a play call or if it was improvised, but this play was spectacular. After running the ball down their throats all game long, designed to roll out, Swift is right there for an easy 2-yard completion, and it looks like that's exactly where Caleb Williams is going to go with it because that's all they've been doing, and Caleb Williams struggled so much in the second half. But no, they dial up a home run ball to Cole Kmet, and the ball is on the money. It's a touchdown. That was spectacular, and that to me was the play of the game. The rushing offense was amazing and carried the heavy load. But when they turned to the passing offense, despite so many struggles, they came through in the fourth. Now, that was only one play, and pretty much outside of that one play, the passing offense was very bad. No passing play over, I believe, 15 yards outside of the 28-yard touchdown pass to Cole Kmet. That was literally it. The passing offense was very, very limited for Chicago. And especially in the second half, when Caleb Williams just could not buy completion. Threw a pick. He didn't get his first completion of the half till a minute left in the third quarter. On a 4th and 5, by the way, after the Nashawn Wright fumble recovery, Ben Johnson continuing to trust in his quarterback to go out and make plays, even if he's had a bad game, I respect it a lot. Because there were several moments where I'm like, dude, just hand the ball off every play at this point. The passing attack is non-existent. Receivers are slipping. Williams is missing throws. He's getting pressure and has to throw it away. It has not been a good game passing-wise. And to dial up that was a big risk. I mean, yeah. But, again, it cannot be overstated how poor this passing attack was in this game. Very poor performance from Caleb Williams. Probably, especially when it comes to the pure box score, his worst performance of the year. Sub 50 completion percentage, hasn't had that this year. Lowest passing yards on the season, and he threw a pick. It was not a good day. But he came through with a huge pass late that pretty much put the game away. Now look, I think this fan base, and there are plenty of national analysts that have been very harsh on Caleb Williams this season. And there's room for criticism, absolutely. Completion percentage, not where you want it. But at the same time, it's his second year in the league. The team is 9-3 right now. I am not going to be massively concerned about completion percentage when going into this game he was still on pace to throw for over 3,900 yards. To me, I think that this is the first game of the year where I feel like some criticism and some of those people who have been very critical on Caleb Williams are going to be validated. Because it was not a good performance for Caleb Williams, and I'm not afraid to say that. But you know what? This is a team sport. It doesn't come back. It doesn't only come down to the quarterback. More often than not, it does. If the quarterback plays poorly, more often than not, you are going to lose games. But because their rushing offense was so successful, they didn't need to have a stout passing attack. They continued to run it down their throats, and Philly couldn't stop it. That was the biggest thing. Philly could not stop it. And so Caleb Williams did not need to take over that game. And the defense did their job. There's a reason this is a team sport. I know there are a lot of people in Chicago who want nothing more than just to have a quarterback that can tear it up every single week. I know this team's never had a guy like that. I understand that you might be impatient, and seeing a stat line like this makes you very frustrated. But this is a team win, and this has been the Bears have won so many big games exactly like this in the past. Just wait until Caleb Williams figures it out. At the end of the day, there are 52 other players on a football roster at any given time during an NFL season. The quarterback is the most important position of the 53, but there are 52 other guys that comprise the unit, the Chicago Bears. And the rest of this team put the quarterback on their back when he had a bad day. And that's what great teams do. Despite maybe one position group, one player, or a few having bad days, struggling a little bit, they're able to pick each other up and help each other out by playing complementary football. And this team doesn't quit. This team plays for each other. They play for the coaching staff. They play for the fans. This team cares and is tough, and they're going to beat you in any way they can. They can be flashy like they did against Dallas, but they can also be a ground and pound, old school team like they were today. I mean, it really feels surreal. I don't even think it's hit me yet. The Bears are 9-3, and they just beat the reigning Super Bowl champs on the road in primetime. First time the Bears beat the reigning Super Bowl champs on the road since the late 80s. I mean, we are starting to see some parallels to those 80s teams. And I know that's like, whoa, we can't be comparing them to the glory of the 85 Bears, man. That's too far. They're nowhere near as... I'm like, yeah, they're not as good as the 85 Bears. No Bears team will ever be as good as the 85 Bears. But this team feels like they're on their way for their first contending window, like true contending window, where they're contending for 5-6 years since the 80s. Because if this is the first year with Ben Johnson, there's still so many things to improve. I mean, look out, NFL. If this is just the beginning. I cannot believe this. Like, they could be 9-3 at this point next year and look so much better. But the fact they're 9-3 right now and just winning games, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable. And I could not be happier.
Hey everyone, this is Alex. I'm currently editing the video. I've never actually done anything like this on the channel where I've added like a bit of an editor's note, but I left something out of this video that I absolutely cannot believe I did. So we're going to talk about it right now for just a second. But think about where this team was 1 year ago. Losing a heartbreaker to the Detroit Lions on the road in that baffling ending. On Black Friday last year, they fire Matt Eberflus. On Black Friday this year, and 1 year to the day after losing to Detroit on Thanksgiving, the new head coach they hired just beat the Super Bowl champs on the road, and the Bears are 9-3. Let that sink in for a second. What a difference a year makes. Man, that makes me so happy. It puts a big old smile on my face. Anyways, just wanted to share that. Anyways, back to the video.
Bears clinched their first winning season since 2018. And this is the biggest win for the Chicago Bears since they beat the then 11-1 LA Rams in Chicago late in the 2018 season. That game proved to me that they were like legit that year. That was the win that cemented pretty much to me that they were going to make the playoffs that year. And it was at that point the first really good season the Bears had since I started becoming a fan. I started watching the team in the early to mid 2010s. 2013, 2014 were the first couple of years that I watched. It's been a lot of bad. It's just the second time since I started watching the Bears, this team is going to win more games than they lose. Like, I can't believe this. It's genuinely impressive. They're off to a better start than the 2018 Bears. The 2018 Bears lost Week 13 after Thanksgiving. They were 8-4. They're 9-3. And they're winning the NFC North. The toughest division in football, which fielded 3 11-win teams last year. And the Bears were 5-12. And 1 year later, they are now sitting at 9-3 and atop the division. And they're going to be battling for first place next week when they got to travel to Lambeau. The NFL is licking their chops for one of the biggest rivalries, maybe the biggest rivalry in NFL history. No, it is the biggest rivalry in NFL history. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? In more modern times, maybe it's not the biggest NFL rivalry right now, but across the history of the league, absolutely. The NFL is licking their chops because we get to see the NFC North decided over the next 3 weeks when the Bears and the Packers get together twice in 3 weeks when both teams are playing really good football. I haven't been this nervous for a Bears-Packers game maybe ever. This is the most impactful Bears-Packers game coming up since 2013, Week 17, when Aaron Rodgers came into Soldier Field after being injured for a portion of that season, needing a win as they have this year. They have a tie. So they go into Chicago. If they win, they get in. They lose, they're out. And they swipe away the division at the last second. And the trajectory of both franchises changes after that moment. The Packers go into a contending window, which they don't get to a Super Bowl, but they are damn close a couple of times with Rodgers for the next 6 to 8 years. Then the Bears fall, seriously. 1 winning season since then. I mean, they finished 8-8 that year. So it's only been 1 winning season, and now up until today, or now after today, 2 winning seasons since then. That game in 2013, both teams were around average. The Bears were 8-8 after that game. They would have been 9-7 and a division winner. The Green Bay finished that season 8-7-1. That's how that division race ended. This is a different beast. When the Bears and the Packers are both in conversations now for the number 1 seed in the NFC. Regardless of how good or bad you think either team is. That's just the reality of it. If the Rams lose this weekend to Carolina, Chicago's tied for the number 1 seed in the National Football Conference. And Green Bay's a half game back. And even if the Rams win, Chicago's 1 game back, Green Bay's a game and a half back of the first seed. So it's massive, not just for the division race, but for potential number 1 seed in a bye in the playoffs. It's baffling to me that when the NFL scheduled this, they knew what they were doing. They wanted high-stakes Bears-Packers matchups. I don't think they expected both teams to be at the top of the NFC standings. I'm pretty sure most people would have expected seeing that late. I'm like, oh, that'll be cool. We'll probably see some games that'll mean decide who goes to the playoffs, right? It felt like that was kind of the crash course and would be the storyline. But it's different. This ain't just for wild card position or to make the playoff. We're talking divisional supremacy and NFC supremacy. This is going to be huge. I'm so freaking nervous, dude. Well, I think what makes this matchup even more intriguing is both teams are going to get like a mini bye here. Both teams won big games on the road on short weeks, and now they get a long week to prepare for each other, and then it's for the division. Like, the stakes are going to be insane. And depending on what happens next Sunday determines the storylines for their game in Chicago in Week 16. Which is also, well, not also, but next week's game is going to be America's Game of the Week after it got flexed in because of the Buffalo-Cincinnati game being flexed out. That, not necessarily in an isolated time slot. There are going to be other games going on at that time, but odds of the country is going to be on that one. And then 2 weeks later, you get them playing in an isolated time slot on a Saturday in Chicago. That is going to be so stressful. I can't even fathom that right now. Oh my God. Oh my God. We got to play the Packers twice in the next 3 weeks. Oh, my heart is not going to be able to take this. Oh, this is this is going to be like the most stressful week of my life. Holy cow. So Bears fans, get excited. Enjoy this one. Because it's going to be a stressful week and a half leading up to a big-time game against your most hated rival. This was their statement win. This was the statement win that this team has been looking for this season to prove that they are legit. The entire conversation for the last 3-4 weeks has been, yeah, you've beaten nobody. You play who's on your schedule. This is the best team they've had a chance to really go out and beat. It wasn't like, hey, their one loss in this 9-1 stretch they've been on was against a team that is currently like 9-2 or whatever. It's not like they had that opportunity, but they do now, and they get a multi-score win. That's the most important part to me. I know it's only 9 points, but 9 points is a multi-score win. That's 2 scores. Can't score 9 points on one drive. It's a multi-score win after 4 consecutive one-score wins on the road against the reigning Super Bowl champs. Anyways, I've been going for a long time. This video's probably pretty long at this point. Turning on that fan was a great idea, by the way. And now the Bears have a long week ahead of them to prepare for the biggest game of their season. This was the biggest game of the season so far, but they're going to have to do it again next week on the road against the Green Bay Packers, their most hated rival, and a team who's trying to swipe away first place in the NFC North. So, hey, man, this is officially the first winning season I get to cover on this channel. You're going to want to hit the like button and hit that subscribe button because things are going to get serious as we get into December. Man, this is going to be unreal. Oh, I got to play the Packers twice in 3 weeks, man. Oh, my God. Hit the like button if you enjoyed it. Hit the subscribe button if you really enjoyed it and want to see more videos from me. You're not going to want to miss these. Keep the conversation going in the comment section below. Tell me how you feel about the Chicago Bears being the reigning Super Bowl champs on the road. And I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.